important, really important to make sure I put in the faces of these people who were gonna be able to gaslight me in these ways of making me think that I'm just being mapped and manned, and they're just not manipulating my brain, and they're not designing me to experience these experiences because they are just actually evaluating my brain in a non-manipulative way. And it's a group of these protectors of women and children, this avenging, and they're just avenging, and then it's a program of their money, not the program that's torturing women and children. And these noise campaigns and the theatrics all around here is part of their war. All this nonsensicalness. I know what is happening here. They want to box in these ways of thinking, and I will always put that in their faces. First of all, I'm just thankful for all the testimonials that have been validating to me what this thing is really about. So at this point, it's not even about that. It's about maintaining reality. I was in the shower. At this point, my body is really fatigued. They've been damaging it. And when your body is more damaged, the more they take advantage of it because you're fatigued. They want to really make sure that when your body and your mind is at the most vulnerable state, they can take advantage of it and just implant things and do whatever it needs to do. And it's very brainwashing. What I mean by brainwashing, it's not even brainwashing. It's just very cognitive, warfare. So the ecosystem that is put around you, from the employers, from the co-workers, from the neighbors, are all supposed to break you down. Usually when I'm in a shower, that's when the things happen. The thought goes crazy, and especially when you're fatigued. My brain right now is very fatigued. I'm having fevers and headaches, and it's like my body is just kind of going to a shock state because of what's happening to my body. Perfect time to take advantage of the brain. The fatigue state of my brain allows them to even create more manipulation. I will die never subscribing to this manipulation and see this trash for what it is. First of all, I know who put me in this program. Every time I see this employer that's currently employing me, try to recreate reality, understanding what industry they're in, understand how limited they are in certain things, even saying the name of a Roy Moore, a man that was allegedly doing things like that, and I have them on camera being nervous to see that man name who was allegedly doing things to children, and today wanting me to see them as these fierce avengers, protectors of children, when instead of the opportunities involved in a program where human subjects are needed, are used in an industry they involved in where human subjects are required, and not being able to add up things together. It's why would these people be involved in this? Why would they benefit from this? I wonder what. Trying to position themselves in ways that they're just observing this protective technology that prevents anything that can happen to children. Trash. And having mentally regressed, which are children, teenage retards, whose job is to push the test subject to turn into them, become mentally retarded. You've seen pictures of them. This time I'm not going to put them. Nah, no, obviously, I don't think it's this next door neighbor of retards doing that to me. I understand they just participate in that. I give them the credit for they're just being involved in something that's already happening. They're nothings. And I always put the reality in people in the faces of whoever is participating. Currently, my employer is trying to paint this story. I'm I've been recording them in so many different vulnerable states in regard of how they try to paint themselves. It's just so bad. They really look like the legacy of the industry they're part of. Not looking like these Avengers. And I did everything possible to make sure I captured that. Not fooled by the diversity and all of the things they're trying to paint them as, to try not look like the opportunities that they're involved in. The opportunities involved in the program that use human beings. Now, in regard of who I am, I know who I am. I will never subscribe to this manipulation. I know my imperfection very well. Now, what's happening today? It's this disgusting manipulation that they're known to be doing to people. But they want me to internalize this. Not only they force me to experience that, but they also putting effort into trying to make me identify with this. And then guess who's right now like the top tier people supposed to fight into make me identify with this. Some mentally regressed. I'm trying not to call them retarded. Who's playing rape victim, by the way? FYI. Yeah, just add that to the credibility here. I was in the shower. I'm showering. Always, that's when the thoughts get manipulated the most. I'm showering, and then I hear this special people, this mentally regressed teenage trash, saying, "You like boys." And then that's when the thought process starts being manipulated. Of course, I know it's them driving these thoughts. Okay. At these points, if you get one thing from my videos, know that I'm fully aware that I'm no longer in charge of my own thought process, that this is being manipulated. It's been manipulated since August 19, 2019. They control my thought process and they act like they're observing it. They're disgusting lowlife and clowns, and I'll call that for what they are. Then they create the theatrics and the noise campaign and everything that they themselves design and orchestrate in this fashion. The thought process. Play these clowns. Here's the thought process. Somebody say, "You like boys." Okay. Then my thoughts start being manipulated. Oh, and I knew immediately, like, oh, you're just trying to drive this. I know. I'm not going to be accountable for the thoughts that they manipulate me to experience. I'm not going to be like, oh, it's my, I know what this technology is. And you're not here observing. You know, the level of stupidity they want me to be. They want me to be like, no, we're just observing your brain and your thought process, and we will never be able to manipulate that. God. It's like, really? First of all, for them to be able, it's funny, when they let me know they saw the thought, I'm like, that means you know what this technology can do. It's like saying, oh, we can only see the thoughts, but we can never manipulate that. Never. Even though this whole purpose was just to be able to control thought process. And they're like, to scare me, it's like they saw that. The people they're reading them, and they're like, oh, they wouldn't manipulate the brain. Never that. So let me just say what they did, and I'm going to bring all that together. They make me think of little boys. And it's like you always wanted to have. When they say things, it's meant to be meaning something else. Like, you like boys. And that point, the way they're trying to say is like, you wanted to have boys. As a man, most men want to have boys because, it's like little me's. But the truth is, I don't care if I have a little boy or a little girl. I'm sure having a little girl will be precious, and especially the older I get, I'm thinking it would be better to have a little girl because probably care more about the dad and that bond between dad and. But like typical men, we all want to have a little me, little boys, just little, So I always wanted to have a little boy. So what they do is like, oh, you see, you want a little boy. Little boy it's not real. In regard of how they manipulate me, and then make me think of little girls and give me the stimulation to make me have. It's like, yeah, that's mapped it. Then send who? The mental regress one. Like, you stupid. So you think I'm gonna think about little kids, little boys, or little girls in a non-manipulate way? Since you've been doing that since August 19, 2019, that's all you did. Like, of course, that's what you're gonna make me experience. Like, these clowns, that's all they do every day. And then they want me to randomly start thinking like that, and then be like, oh, you see? But they use this childlike individual. They want me to debate. It's like, of course, I know you want me to think about little girls, force me to get the sexual stimulation, make me feel like I should internalize this as if I'm not being manipulated the way you've been manipulating me since August 19, 2019. But today is a different day. And then try to have this rationale. You see, you didn't want to have girls. You wanted to have boys because girls, that's what you go with the experience. It's like, start making me think this stupidity. It's like, no. You're just some disgusting trash forcing me to have this experience with those little girls. Then having me think like of mentally retarded. To identify with these manipulations. They really want me to start. And they're like, every time they do this, like, they just saw that. They saw that. He didn't want to have little girls like this. During the whole time, I was getting messages, I'm getting texts, try to box it in, lock in this thought process. And then, to try to make me identify with this retardation and discussing manipulation. Like, no, but remember what you did as a kid. That's abuse, like trash ass. You just try to make me identify with this retardation and this disgusting manipulation, then bring up me as a child to be like, you see, proved it. And like, that's abuse. These fuckers are involved in a program where they're negating even children torture. And then bring up me as a kid to make me acceptive of this retardation of logic and this manipulation of my mind. Even saying logic has been negated. And sending fucking mentally regressed human shit to try to gaslight you. And be like, no, we just mapped it. And really box in the stupidity. I already died in hell. There was some trash in the hallway. It's like, yeah, we are war. You are a retardation. You are just pushing me into insanity. I will never identify with this thought process and manipulation and make me subscribe to it. But I remember what you did as a kid. Proof. Stupidity. Talking with you. These people are meant to push you into insanity. They want you to start thinking in a freaking mentally retarded way. Understand that. They were sending me messages, all that. Like, yeah, I know the abuse like trash. I know what you do to children. This program 1, 2. This is we try to utilize what I did as a child with the exaggerated version, whatever version they try to create of me as a child to make me acceptive of this manipulation that you force me to have in the shower as I'm showering. Then having clowns sending messages, try to pin things up. These people who are involved in the program where torturing children is happening. And they can't even say the name of a man that was allegedly doing these things to 14-year-old kids. And by here, supposed to make me think they're just mapping opportunist trash. You're not going to bring up what I did as a child to make me acceptive of this freaking stupidity and retardation. They make your noise campaign to try to gaslight me when you do the manipulation to others. Sending fucking mentally retarded human beings to try to gaslight me. Never. So my target visual stay strong. And most importantly, what discredits them even more is understanding that they couldn't even say the name of a man who allegedly was molesting a 14-year-old girl. On top of that, the entities behind this program are known to be molesting. Let me just say this again. There's a bill called S1413 that was introduced in 2019 because there was an issue with child porn being trafficked within this entity's computer network. Those are the entities behind this. We're talking about the Department of Defense. These clowns over here, their job are just supposed to gaslight the test subject into identify with this. As they manipulate your brain in these degrading ways, they're supposed to use their perceptions of how they present themselves, the facade there. Supposed to make me think it's just this fierce feminist with their justice in a program that literally tortured children sexually, and they call it not fair because they try to negate and minimize the fucking disgustingness of torturing children. As they try to wanting you to identify with the manipulation, they force you to have all these little babies. Then say you molest. We know who's molesting children. You work for this fucking trash. You low life. And we know who's not fair about torturing children. I will never identify with this. Target me, just stay strong.